Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we're going to another movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's tired all these motherfuckers with me tonight?
My name is Joe Butler, and I like to wear name tags with explicit words on them.
I like that part.
Blair Farrell from comicbookvideogames.com, and I can't wait to discuss Apple CEO Tim Cook's favorite movie of all time.
Wow. And I'm Bill Tucker from A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, and I was just too bored throughout this entire experience to think of anything clever. So thank you, gentlemen, for doing that legwork for me.
And I do have to say, this was voted by Patreon for us to bring you the last Blade movie cover in our Patreon, monthly Patreon poll. So go check out our Patreon for little as a dollar. You see it in the show notes, and vote. And each month there's a new poll of something. All right. And so we are covering Blade Trinity that came out in 2004. And I still like this movie. I want to get that out there first. I still like this movie. I don't know why. Still like it.
Liking this movie is like liking sand. It's like, I mean, some people, I guess, can really enjoy sand, but for the majority of us, sand is just there. It just exists on this planet. It's just
Ryan Reynolds. I like Ryan Reynolds a lot.
See, I like Ryan Reynolds too, and then I kept thinking the entire time about, and I mean, we'll get into like all of the crazy stuff that happened, but I just kept thinking about, like, you know, there's something about an actor like Wesley Snipes being a professional and not being a baby, or whatever happened, not being a baby, but just, you know, not acting like he was. But then I heard every line that came out of Ryan Reynolds' mouth in this movie, and I was like, you were right. Like, just throw those tantrums. Like, just go in your trailer. Like, I wouldn't put up with it either. Like, he's just, the double R is just not funny in this one.
I don't know the backstory of any of this. My brain forgot about it 5 minutes after. Well, no, I didn't, because I knew I had to do this show today. But it will forget about this 5 minutes after this conversation. So I don't know any of the backstory.
See, that's the most fascinating thing, because, and I mean, I don't know, because I was trying to find if there was a source. So like on IMDb trivia, like the original idea for this movie was apparently like set in long after Blade 2, and Blade had lost, and like the vampires ran the worlds, and it was like him and his last stand, but they're like, no, that's too expensive, like do something else. And like Wesley Snipes was supposed to get say on the director, but then they just picked the writer, David S. Goyer, who did the other two. So he wasn't happy about that. If he sued New Line after the production, according to Patton Oswalt, like he was just in his trailer the entire time. Like many of the shots in this movie are just stand-ins and stunt doubles. And he was talking to people through Post-it notes.
What? This is Wesley Snipes?
Yes.
Yeah. He didn't want to do it.
And he was just high in his trailer all the time, and like he didn't want to even, like, I think Ryan Reynolds, he was just call me Blade, and there's like some other things that Ryan Reynolds have said. Now I think Wesley Snipes has come out and said some of this is not true, so it all lies in the middle. But like it's like just crazy, and it just a bunch of bad ideas that lead to like a weird movie that somehow came out at Christmas time. You know, I think of Blade and I think of like Christmas.
Yeah, there's not an ounce of snow in this. Yeah, David S. Goyer directs this thing, and he is not. He is a good writer when given good material. And he's, you know, Dark Knight Trilogy, of course, but then he also did, I think he did Batman v Superman, if I'm not mistaken, and a few other things. He also did Suicide Squad. He also wrote a bunch of Call of Duty games, Black Ops 2, and Cold War. So if you enjoy the writing in those games, you can thank David S. Goyer for that. Yeah, this is just a bland movie. And it's interesting you mentioned that, Blair, because this movie feels very forced and just completely joyless. And the one thing, there's a few little theses I have on this, or tentpole statements, but maybe I'll go through as we go through it. But yeah, it's very interesting you mentioned that. I like Ryan Reynolds. I know people don't. I find him oddly charming, and I don't know why. Like, you ever meet somebody in life and you know what? I like to cut up that person's jib. Like, I really, you know what? I think we could be pals. I don't think I could be friends with Ryan Reynolds, but for some reason I do find him oddly charming. Even in those dumb Mint Mobile commercials, I still think, I don't know, something about him just...
I think he sounds like a stand-up guy, and it's funny And I think he gives a lot back and tries to help people. And I think he's very genuine. But I can't remember who. I wish I could credit them. But I think someone brought up where, like in Hollywood, after so many flops, you're done. It's just like you are to the red box. Like you were in trash. And Ryan Reynolds, he had a not great career for a long time, and he just kept getting roles. Like he did this and like Green Lantern and a bunch of other stuff that was like misfires, but then he just kept, they're just like, no, we just want to make this guy happen. And I mean, he was in good things, but like it seems like the bad far outweighed the good until like much later in his career.
I have to apologize for both of you for the coarse language I'm about to use, but when I watched this movie, I completely forgot. What is this, like 25-year-old Ryan Reynolds?
Something like that, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I would suck a fart out of that man's butt, like, like unapologetically. Like when it gets to the part where like he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to be one of them," and it shows like his snail trail. I'm like, my God.
Yeah.
I read some of the trivia where he was like the Blade Trinity like workout regime was like nearly killed him. He was like, it was so intense. And it's like, oh, you can tell. Like there's no goose suit there. It's all him.
Yeah, he's in shape.
He's a handsome man.
He certainly is. It's hard not to look at that physique, you know, when he's in the jail cell and go, whew, okay, you know, again, I'm a straight man, but listen, I can appreciate a good V. Let's just put it that way.
That was also a thing that's funny to me in this movie is that he's shirtless, but Wesley Snipes is not shirtless at all in this movie. He's shirtless in both Blade 1 and Blade 2, but not at all in this movie, and that's by choice. Because
that would be too much work. I ain't doing that for you, David S. Goyer.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end, he couldn't even be bothered to open his eyes.
I love that too.
That's good.
I think that's just funny as hell that he just did not want to be there. Like nobody wanted. Like I think it's funny. Like I was watching a video on YouTube and they were talking about where Patton Oswalt had said that this movie should be above Citizen Kane just for the fact that it got made and released.
I was so happy to see him in
so much.
I was so happy. He got 4 lines, but you know, I was very pleased to see Patton Oswalt in this one. It made me smile.
So I feel that the terrible writing for this movie as well goes to the fact that this movie's hitting 2004, and this is along the lines, because I looked up what other movies came out that year, and it's like Spider-Man 2, which means Spider-Man 1 had already come out. You have Catwoman, which also has terrible writing, and a bunch. This is when superhero movies were trying to become like mainstream popular, and what is it? I feel like that's what they were trying to do for this too, because Blade 1 and 2 feel like more horror movies, and this very much feels like a hokey superhero movie.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
But it still has the R rating, doesn't it?
Barely, though. This is the softest R rating. I mean, there's one decapitation early on, and then
there's a few.
Well, there's lots of F-bombs, so I guess that's probably why.
There's a ton of F-bombs.
Yeah, that's probably why. But from violence perspective, this is extremely tame. Like they really isn't much to kind of go here. There is no giant fat pearl in Blade 1, nor are there these grinning reapers in Blade 2 or spine replacements. So none of that going on here. So this seems very tame and safe, which is also a bummer too, especially after Blade 2, which took so many risks in, again, like the body horror and the grossness, and just took a lot of risks. And because it was directed by someone who doesn't care about anything. And then this one just feels very safe and by the numbers. It's kind of bland. And the one thing I think about Blade that really, this movie in perspective, I thought about it. And actually, when you guys sent over, I'm going to say GIF. I know it's GIF, but it's GIF, whatever. You guys sent over a GIF of Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel kind of like, you know, getting the bow ready. And then Ryan Reynolds winks at her. And I realized right then and there, one of the tentpole problems with this movie tries to make other people cool.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. You can't upstage your lead character. Blade is supposed to be cool. That's the number one thing he's got going for him. And when you try to make more cool characters, it kind of dilutes the experience. And now you just have this team of not very cool people, because Blade isn't that cool. But when you're the only cool person in the movie, you kind of center on the cool person. This is no longer cool people doing cool things.
Blade feels like a supporting character in his own movie.
Yes, absolutely.
And so much. I went to look up on I went to bring up the Wikipedia article because I wanted to see how much money this made. And in the cast, like when you just Google Blade Trinity, like Wesley Snipes isn't even on the first page. It was like Ryan Reynolds, Jessica. Oh my god, I was about to call her Jessica Alba, which apparently happened in the commercials. They accidentally credited her as Jessica Alba in the commercials.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that's what I read in the trivia. I don't know if there's a source. I mean, they're two different ethnicities, but they're equally replaceable, in my opinion.
I kept saying, is Jessica Alba in this thing? I can't remember. Or is it the one with the B?
She was
Beale.
in Fantastic Four.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. I legit thought that was Carmen Electra for a hot minute too.
I like Jessica Biel a lot. I don't remember her being in any other movies other than this one, really, that I can even think of. But I like her a lot in this movie.
She was in that that stupid Platinum Dunes Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, wasn't she?
Never seen
she
them.
was. Yeah, she was. She was in the reboot. Yeah.
That was
Yes.
3.
Yep. Yeah. Good call.
Because this
It
is
was
when she was
2004,
trying
so I
to
guess.
break away from like Seventh Heaven. So she was just taking like any role that was like R-rated and just trying to break out of that squeaky clean image.
That's fair.
I really like. I think that's one reason why I like this movie, because I really like that actress. I like Ryan Reynolds a lot. Like, I didn't realize till this watch through that how much Wesley Snipes is not in this film.
It's okay.
Like, he just doesn't. And you can you can see how much he just doesn't give a fuck. You
Yeah.
really can.
And clearly, now that I know some of the backstory, that makes a lot of sense considering not only how little he's in this movie, but how long and drawn out some of these scenes are and these transitions
Yeah.
and slow motion.
And the camera's bad.
They just didn't have enough. They didn't have enough footage. They probably were like, look, we got like 75 minutes of stuff here, and this is not going straight to DVD. So how do we fill this in? It feels like that. Because that was definitely a vibe I got from it.
I think there was one of the introductions of Dracula, and I made a mental note because they keep cutting to like him and like just his like suit, and I was like, this is. I don't know if there's a way to put it. I call it the most New Line thing ever. Like, because it just reminded me of things like Spawn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is the most New Line cinema thing.
It sure is. That's funny.
The other thing that I think about too is because if you listen to the last podcast, for people who are listening to this one now, Bill said something on the lines where like Wesley Snipes had a lot of like pull for the first two movies, so him not being able to actually like have probably not any choice, and then being like, no, we just need to make it more schlockier and have more action and stuff like that. I can understand why he had also all those fits and why this movie is just kind of bad.
Yes, he was supposed to have like final say in the director, and I think they were trying. And again, a lot of this isn't sourced, or maybe it is, that they were trying to get back the director from like the first movie, Stephen Norton, who was fresh off of LXG, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, if anyone remembers that movie. That was Sean Connery's last film.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
And he saw the script and he was like, no, this is trash. But there are good ideas. Like, I like some of the ideas in the...
Yeah, there are some good ideas. As we go through, we'll probably talk about those. I agree. I think we'll probably be in lockstep on that one.
What is the name of the last group in the last movie?
You mean Night Stalkers?
The Blood Pack?
There we go. I like
that movie.
Yeah,
Right.
I like Night Stalkers more than Blood Pack.
Yes, I agree
Well,
with
Night
that.
Stalkers is from the comics for sure. It's a group that, if I remember, I can't even say who's in it. I don't really know much about that part of
Hannibal
Marvel.
King was apparently a vampire, much like kind of Morbius on the Spider-Man cartoon, which that was something that I'm shocked that, because I listened to the Blade 2 episode, like, was anyone else's introduction to the Blade character from Spider-Man, the animated series?
No.
Oh, because this was how I learned about Blade, because I remember when the first Blade came out, I was like, oh, like, character from Spider-Man is getting his own movie? Because I think like a lot of the ideas of the Blade franchise didn't so much come from the comics, but it came from that show. Because in the cartoon, they bring up like Whistler and the serum and his mom, like him looking for his mom, who turns out to be a vampire. Like, I know John Sepper Jr., like the producer of that cartoon, is like, yeah, a lot of this was taken from our show. Because I didn't read a lot of Blade comics. Like most of the world, their introduction was probably from the first movie in 1998.
Oh yeah, for sure. mean, I think that was my first experience to Blade.
I really need to rewatch the Amazing Spider-Man series.
It's a little tough.
Yeah.
Because it's a 1990, 4 or 6 cartoon?
Probably 6.
That cartoon is great, man. That has some like really great character. Like the animation looks super cheap. I didn't even recognize that as a kid, but like some of the story arcs in that are like downright brutal and horrific.
Yeah, but some of the voice acting is really, really bad.
I've been curious about it. I forgot that there was a Blade episode back then.
I don't remember that.
He was like a recurring character because he was like with Morbius, and I think him and Morbius and Black Cat went off to hunt vampires. And I think Malcolm McDowell was like Whistler.
Okay. I still, as I said at the top, so I still really like this film, but I think it's just because when I saw this in 2004, it just hit me right. And even now, like, I was entertained during this movie. Like, I recognize that this is a bad movie, but I was entertained.
Listen, I'm a guy who likes the entire Resident Evil movie franchise. And this movie's okay for me. It wasn't that good, but it also was pretty bad.
I had to take frequent breaks and walk away. Like I just had to.
I had to. I didn't take breaks, but I had a couple of good. Come on, this is so boring. And I watched it on my computer on digital video disc because my computer still has a DVD drive in it. Don't ask me why. It's just there. And I'm watching this on like VLC media player, and it's like there's no up resolution. I'm just watching it like. This is exactly how this movie needs to be seen. You don't need to see this in like 4K, UHD, none of that. And I kept like glancing at the time left because, you know, that's exactly what you should do when you're watching an engrossing action movie is just keep glancing at how much time you have left before you can just go to bed and, well, do dishes and then go to bed. So that was my experience with it. It's just a bland. Yeah, you know, I've said it before on the show. I think one of the worst sins a movie can commit is just being a net zero. Yep. Like just being a stack of bland,
I agree.
And that's the worst thing you can do.
I would rather something be great or absolutely terrible. Like I think of the Uncharted movie from earlier this year, and I saw it and I was like, it was fine, but like the games are memorable and I love these characters, and this is just feels like such a cookie cutter action film that's perfectly serviceable, but nothing is special.
No, there's not a thing is special in it except the cringy parts and Ryan Reynolds' physique. Other than that, there is really nothing to write home about in this movie. Oh man.
I still love there's a meme, maybe not a meme, but a thing that goes around of how Jessica Biel destroyed a $300,000 camera in this movie.
Oh yeah.
What?
There's I didn't see the shot in the film, but supposedly there's one point where he told her to shoot directly at the camera, and it was completely covered by like bulletproof glass except for one little hole right where the camera was, and she was that good of an archer that she shot it right through the hole and destroyed the camera because he told her to.
Wow. That's wow. Impressive and disastrous.
And I mean, why he didn't just tell her aim lower, or you know, he told her aim for the camera because he wanted that shot, and she hit the camera.
Wow. Interesting.
Well, it says a lot about the direction of this movie.
Yes. Please fire an arrow at my extremely expensive camera.
Destroy the camera. Maybe we can get out of finishing it.
Yeah. And action. Huh.
Well, it's never a good sign when, I guess, because one of the things I was listening to was like where that they couldn't, we said before, they couldn't find a director. So they're like, yeah, you wrote the movie, you direct it. Like, that's not how this works, I don't think.
All right. Well.
It's just weird to me. Like, that's not the way that you usually, you have someone that has like experience. You don't just give a guy who's never directed a movie before, like, oh, here, direct this movie.
Was this his first? He had directed one other thing, I think, before this that no one saw. So I don't know. I agree. I mean, Marvel's been doing that forever now. If you're a director that has one relatively well-received indie hit, they'll hand you the reins to, like, I don't know, Ant-Man or, something, or Black Panther. And for some reason, it always works out. Usually works out. They're never as bad as this. They at least always have an authorial tone to it or a directorial vision. For some reason, the mid-2000s were just rife, like you said, Blair, just rife with these just cookie cutter, bland. We're trying to replicate the comics too much, not cinematic, just snooze fests. And luckily, Iron Man was able to fly us out of this terrible doldrums and launch us into a better era of superhero movies, for better or for worse. And here we are.
Yeah, but now we have these weird Marvel movies where no one wants to do anything different because they're scared it won't make them money.
Yep, that's kind of what it is. Wait till we talk about Eternals. Blah.
Well, that's crazy to think about, like, and I never realized how much of a gap there was between Blade 1 and 2. Because Blade 1 was like August 98, and then Blade 2 wasn't until like March or February of 2002. Like, that's unheard of for like sequel turnarounds.
It really is.
And then this one was like, again, like December 2004. Like, and then 3 years later, they did the same thing with The Punisher. They went on the Punisher Warzone on like Christmas Day in 2007. Like,
yo,
yeah, that's when you put out. Okay, you want to talk about great movies? Punisher Warzone. That's 11 out of 10. It's
Never seen it.
Oh my god, Mike. That's a movie we have to do. When I tell you there's a scene with heavy butt rock playing and a man jumps off a roof and gets blown up by an RPG, that's a movie you have to see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and one thing I do want to, that since I feel like we don't even want to talk about this film scene by scene at the rate we're going, I do want to mention that like the whole plot of the movie is that they go and they're trying to resurrect Dracula for some reason, just to kill Blade, I guess, but it's never really clear.
They want to utilize him to become him because his blood is the purest thing, but they really never get back to that plot. They just kind of
goes away.
Yeah, the plot kind of goes away. The reason why they want to, and they exposit the reasons. And I love the fact in the Syrian opening, we can just fly into it, and we can probably blow through a lot of this, to be honest.
Okay.
There really isn't much to talk about.
No, there's a couple things I want to talk about, but yeah.
Same, yeah. Especially this first moment where, if you're a fan of Blade, right, you have certain expectations. So the helicopter, I think it's a helicopter, lands in the Syrian desert. These commandos jump off wearing standard tactical commando gear, faces completely covered, so you know they're vampire. There's no surprise here. No attempt at subterfuge. This is not a surprise. And one of the vampires turns around and flips off the sun. Now, here's what this does, Mr. Goyer. You have to establish tone. Early on, tone. That's everything. It's the most important thing. And what this tells you right now is this movie is stupid. This is a stupid movie with stupid decisions, and it's a comedy. So you're telling your audience, hey, did you like Blade 1 that was kind of cool, atmospheric, and kind of violent? And did you like Blade 2, which was really a horror movie dressed up in action clothes? Well, this movie's an outright comedy. Prepare to chuckle, y'all, because this is going to have a lot of jokes. And it's really very telling of what the rest of this film is going to be. I like the fact that they kind of just walk into this temple. They hit the ground and it crumbles. Like nobody has walked into this thing. That's their big search, right? Smash, go into the basement. Like nobody else has thought of this in this Syrian temple. No one's seen this Syrian temple in the middle of Syria in the desert. There's no one's seen it. It's hidden.
So I can't remember Blade 2, and you guys recently did it. So something I was thinking, well, two things actually. One, because it seems like they're getting Dracula because the vampires are like on their heels. Like, oh, Blade is like such a problem. But then throughout the entire movie, like Whistler's like, no, we're losing. So it's very weird. It's just like, so who is winning this war? So why would Dracula as a vampire have like a heat signature?
Yes, that's a good point. Good point. That is very dumb. I like the fact they're looking at it on like an HP like palm thing, because I was trying to point out all the places where old technology was in their hands. And yeah, it's a very good point. I don't know why Dracula would have a heat signature.
Because I don't know in Blade 2, as I know they had a security system. Yes, because like Scud is like, okay, no, is there any heat signatures? Like, no, they're all suckheads. So right. But I guess maybe Dracula, because he's not like other vampires, because he's also a daywalker.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I put more thought to it than what the writers.
I'm going to say that
you really did.
That's what I'm going to go with. Did you mention the part where he flips off the sun?
Yes.
Oh, of course I did. Yeah, okay. That's. I mean, you can't talk about this movie without the big middle finger to the sun. So that way vampires. And then
it jumps to another city after the Syrian desert. Does it ever say what city that is?
It's America.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you right now, it is not, because it is hardcore Canada. Like y'all don't have a Bank of Montreal in America, I don't think.
I couldn't tell. I was trying to look and see if I could find any landmarks. But yeah, these movies are never set in any real city. It's just set in American city, whatever. So yeah.
So normally they say like I feel like Blade 2 said where it was at. Like, oh, we're in Russia. Yes. We're here. It gave us more.
Oh, you're right.
Like,
you're right.
We
were in Czechoslovakia. Yeah, we were in Czechoslovakia. We're in Russia. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, this movie they just did not care at all.
Well, actually, I like to think that there is a reason why he's in somewhat probably America, and it makes sense as to what the what the whole other weird backlog theme of this movie is.
That's a bad movie.
No. Okay, so we have this next scene where Blade's doing what he does. He does what Blade does. He hunts vampires. He hunts white men vampires, which I always think is the running theme for this movie series,
Yes.
Which is Blade being a half vampire black man hunting down weirdly gross white men who, drink blood from babies and stuff like that. So you have him blowing up what is probably like a shitty blood sucking facility because you see like jars in the window, and guys who have Drac Kid Eula stickers on their motorcycles, and you get the little bit of action from the movie. Wesley Snipes stands and like fights guys, which I think I guess maybe he's getting on in his age, maybe because he is like pretty old in this movie.
He is up there, and it's clearly he doesn't have unfortunately the capacity to do much. Considering the only weapon he really wields in this is a shotgun. And we all know from video games you don't need much skill to wield a shotgun and just start blowing people away. Although the sound of a shotgun is extremely satisfying, it just really is so good. Yeah, this is just classic kind of Blade doing Blade things. He shows up, the car arrives. Whistler drives up with the car, and that car is a beater. I'm sorry. I'm amazed that thing runs. That can't be like that vehicle is brutal. Like that thing just looks terrible. And again, it's just standard the Blade Mobile, yes. The Blade Mobile that has really no tricks. Because I love the fact that the Blade Mobile just has standard glass in the windshield, because why would you replace that with bulletproof stuff? They must have that somewhere.
Well,
no,
that's
it just shatters.
The thing. They kind of mentioned the first Blade because he breaks in somewhere and he rummages. I think it's a pawn shop or something, and he just starts stealing watches. And God, I can't remember the.
That's the first movie.
The first Blade. Yeah. And she looks at him and he's like, this isn't the March of Dimes. We have to do whatever we can for money. So I don't think he's gonna have the best stuff. But then he also has this kind of great abandoned dockside warehouse.
It's a pretty cool base.
The base is rad. Yeah, it's kind of not inconspicuous.
And all the explosives in the security system, man.
Seriously? Well, that's later on when we get to that point. And all the fireworks they also launch as well, because as we're blowing things up. I love the fireworks in movies. It just makes you laugh. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a weird thing I noticed about this movie. I noticed about this opening scene, which plays into the storyline, but it doesn't make sense. So you have Blade chasing these guys, and taken wrong, there is something special about this car. It has UV lights and it has a specific cup holder for his double barrel shotgun. I noticed that.
I just thought you had that in America anyways.
No.
Only in Texas.
Yeah, only in Texas. He turns on the UV lights, and there's two vampires in the car in front of him, and one of them's hiding from the UV lights. So then the car crashes, and he goes up and he shoots the guy, and people are freaking out. And it's revealed that the guy's human, but if the guy's human, then why was he hiding from the UV light?
Because it was a trap.
Is he a really good actor?
I guess. But then you go into this weird thing where they're like, aha, we have you now, Blade, where, we recorded you killing a people and now everyone thinks you're a bad guy. But then it's why is that important, though? He's been doing this for years.
In Blade 1, he's in a park in his tactical gear with a sword having a conversation with Deacon Frost, and everyone's just oh yeah, that's normal. It's no, what?
Well, it's in this, yeah. Well, that's in this movie when they kind of walk into that office building and they're just walking down the street, bow and arrow, arrows, guns strapped to hips, sword ablazing. No one seems to be too concerned about these, three warriors running around with tactical gear on. But this one I think is interesting. You're right. There's lots of stupid, goofy things. The UV lights. I was like, why don't you just use that before? How about you just leave the UV lights on, like all the time?
It won't hurt anybody else. So
just keep the lights on. It'll probably bug some of the drivers driving by. To a big blast of light or high beams. Hey,
Drains the battery.
Actually drains the movie of any tension. That's what that would probably do.
And that's it's a cool bombastic opening, but like it also feels, and I guess like Blade in this movie, like he's just so sloppy. And I guess maybe it's just his age, where he's been doing it so long, but at the same time, it's just like it's like this big bombastic thing when it's just like, no, you have to do this smart, but here you are on the road having like a Fast and the Furious road chase where like the car comes out of the back like in Spy Hunter, and
it doesn't make much sense. And like the whole idea of them framing him, like what Bill said, he did kill. He killed so many people. He's been doing this for years. I mean, like, oh, we got you on film. I'm sure he's killed many people, and they've, like, the FBI is obviously after him. Like, it's a dumb plot that doesn't go anywhere.
And I like how this guy that he kills on camera, wielded by Parker Posey, who I'm always glad when she shows up in something. I don't know why. I have an affinity for her. I'm just like, oh, Parker, good for you. I'm glad.
Parker Posey.
She's the she plays the head lady vampire.
Oh, the goth chick?
Yeah, well, yeah.
The one with fangs in her vagina.
I can't.
I really hope that was a literal reference. I know it wasn't, but all I could think
There is a movie that is about that, by the way.
Yeah, I love that movie.
It's really stupid. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm assuming that might have been an ad lib from Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds. Because, like, I was watching some of the bloopers of this, and they're like, there are tons of parts where it's just him saying random shit, and then they just went wherever they wanted.
I love that.
But I like the setup is interesting because like the whole thing is like this shadow war between like Blade and the vampires, and like Whistler says after, like, you kill vampires, they just disintegrate in the ash. There's no bodies, so there's no evidence. But just like how stupidly Blade gets caught is like, that's not a great way to set it up, because it is interesting to have him like, okay, I can't, like, I have to hunt difference. But then later on in the movie, they're just like walking in places in broad daylight in like superhero outfits, and it's a guy who was on the news and the posters everywhere. Like, it's so dumb.
And I really loved it. There's a couple of things here. You're 100% right. This is a pretty good set. I like this. This is not bad. All I could think of was, imagine if Blade was like, if they took this to like the next level, and he was like in a congressional hearing or like in court, and all of a sudden Better Call Saul shows up and starts defending Blade, like, Your Honor, come on. Because I've been watching Better Call Saul. It's an amazing show, as opposed to this, which is not great. And all I could think of was it all becomes this there's no more action. Right, it becomes this courtroom drama. His friends are trying to like figure out how to exonerate him, and they're going through and cleaning up all the evidence. I like, this movie could have been not great, but at least entirely different.
That movie sounds better than what we saw.
Yeah, I think it sounds. Yeah, see, hey, Marvel, hire me. Transfer those funds for Mr. Goyer, and I'll take care of the reboot of this one.
You got.
Don't worry, he ain't be hired again.
Yeah.
No, he will not be.
You got the right mindset, but you got the wrong attorney, Mr. Bill Tucker. It wouldn't Better Call Saul. It would be She-Hulk in the new She-Hulk coming out next week.
Yes. I don't know what to make of that movie, or is it a show or a movie? I don't even.
It's a show.
Okay, I don't even know what to make of that show, but I don't even know what I'm getting into, and I'm kind of here for that.
I know exactly what we're getting into. Go to YouTube and look up the first clip, the opening clip of the TV show. And it's, I don't know what her name is originally, but it's her and
Jennifer Walters.
That her original comic book name?
Yes.
So it's Jennifer and Bruce talking, and it's them going back and forth, and it's basically like, so Captain America went to war, got unfrozen, and then did a whole bunch of other stuff back to back, right? And Bruce is like, yeah, where are you going with this? And she goes, Captain America's totally a virgin. So I think it'll be a good show. It's a really good back and forth.
Cool.
Okay, I'm kind of excited for it. So,
anyways,
I'm intrigued. Anyway, back to this. See how interesting this movie is. We keep going back and forth to like other more interesting properties. So,
So I guess we just got to say FBI is after Blade, and then you have the vampire headquarters. It jumps to, I think, is where you were at, where you have the girl, God, Parker Posey, when they go to see Dracula, and he's been feeding on all these people, and she's like, I'll go in there. And then they make the comment where, we didn't capture him, he let us take him, or something stupid like that.
Yeah. One very quick thing, if I can just backtrack. There was a second thing in the FBI scene. And the FBI scene is stupid because it's all just standard cop stuff, which no one needs to see.
Yeah.
You just don't need those in films anymore. The psychiatrist who's clearly in cahoots with the, with the vampires. I love the fact that all of their wanted posters have the name Blade on it. Like they refer to him as Blade. Like, how did you know? That's why I know he's called Blade. Like, no, it was an anonymous
Blade on the wall or something. Instead of a Z, he went B-L-A-D.
It was an anonymous, and this is before they captured him. So, did it say it on the real audio clip that Parker Posey uploads into her iMac? Clearly displayed Apple icon in the very lower area as it pans over.
Hey, you gotta get money wherever you can.
This old like DivX or whatever the hell they called those things, video transfer devices.
Is the TV show with the chief of police, and I can't remember the actor's name. He's like the voice of like the worm on the new Ninja Turtles cartoon. Was that before the car chase?
No, that's after the car chase.
Okay.
My favorite thing about that scene is the guy goes, so, Mr. Chief of Police, do you believe that there's something about vampires and stuff? No, vampires aren't real. And I literally went, that's something a vampire would say.
Yeah, totally. That's such a baiting question, right? It's like, are you sure? Yeah.
So the only bloodsuckers are the people who pass the bar, I believe was the line.
Oh, no. Was that really the line? Oh, no. For my own safety and sanity, my brain washed that out. Like, oh, my gosh. Okay. All right.
No, the weirder part is you kind of get through beats of this movie. So the vampires can take over like the chief of police and some other stuff, but the FBI can't. So I would imagine at least at some point the government would know that vampires exist.
Yeah.
But then that wouldn't make any fucking sense either, because then why are they after Blade?
It's a stupid movie with a stupid plot.
Here's the thing about this too. People may be listening to this and saying, "You guys are really overanalyzing Blade Trinity." Okay, look, what do you expect? And to be fair, they may be correct. However, our brains work a lot faster than we think, and even we don't recognize these things, our brains do, and that's why things don't work. So you go, "Why didn't this work?" And then you think about it, and you're like, "Oh, that's why, because it's stupid." But your brain already recognized this. So you're watching this thing. I really do think like your brain records and is recognizing all the stupidity and continuity flaws and the fact they had the word Blade on the wanted poster.
Yeah.
But then you think like, oh, that was kind of dumb. So to those who are thinking we are overanalyzing this, I challenge you to also think about this film in case you haven't. And no offense if you haven't, because we're supposed to for this podcast. I certainly would not have. So trust me, no shame. But I challenge you to kind of think about like, hey, all these stupid things, and don't be surprised if you don't come up with your own.
James Remar is uncorruptible. I'm always down for a good James Remar.
Who's James Remar?
He's the FBI guy. He was like he's like a guy, and you'll see him in a bunch of things, and you're like, oh, it's that guy. Like he was Raiden in Mortal Kombat 2.
Why?
What?
That movie exists.
I've never seen that, but based on Mike's sigh, I have a funny feeling I will at some point.
Oh, it is.
Oh, I was supposed to do Mortal Kombat 1 with the original people that were on the show, and I still haven't yet. So one day.
Mortal Kombat 2 is like, we talk about like excellent, terrible, and excellent, good, and like middle being terrible. Like Mortal Kombat 2, or Mortal Kombat Annihilation rather, is like so bad that it's absolutely excellent. Like it is never boring, but it is awful.
The movie is not a sum zero. Like this movie is just zero. Anything good is washed out by everything bad. And notice how, again, we're talking about more interesting properties than this particular film.
Yeah. So we get introduced to Dracula. And as I've said in a comment last night, because I was watching it last night, this is an ugly Dracula.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like
horribly miscast.
The actor looks too young, in my opinion, to be Dracula too. I mean, I know Dracula's ageless, blah blah blah, but he's just still too young, and he's too like pretty.
So when did Prison Break come out? Was this pre-Prison Break or
this is
post-prison? Okay.
And the actor does
Why?
actually a decent job. Who plays, shirt half open Dracula, but he's a bit too beefy. He's that kind of like, you think Dracula, think long, slender. You think also kind of seductive. Obviously, that's a big part of the Dracula mythos, right? That's kind of, you got to bring him in, that sort of thing. He's just kind of this beefcakey, beach body dude, and you're right. It's just a terrible, terrible casting.
Castlevania has ruined us.
Prison Break before, well, the actor is Dominic Purcell, who like Prison Break, I guess, was his breakout thing.
Yeah, it was.
That's the guy from Prison Break.
Yeah, and I mean, I know him as Mick Rory from Legends of Tomorrow, where he's like, I love Mick Rory so much. Like, I wish Dracula was secretly like a romance novelist with a pen name of Rebecca Silver in this movie. It would have been so much better.
He's a much like he just looks too young. If you would have casted that version of the guy that played, Mick Rory, like, okay, I could buy it, but he's too young for this part.
He's a henchman. Like, he's a henchman character. Yeah. Like Dracula, because he's talking about like honor and like living by the sword and things like that, but he doesn't look like someone who's kind of worn, who's kind of had that life. And not saying he's an ugly man, because I'm like, he's fine, but he's not like classically charming, and he doesn't look like a warrior. So it's just like, we have to film in like 2 weeks. Who's the best guy we got? I guess we'll go with that guy. It's not like, it's probably like their 5th choice for the villain of this movie.
It didn't work at all. You have a small, not small, but you have a scene where the FBI raids a safe house. Whistler gets shot like that quickly. Like, they just kill Whistler off because I guess he didn't want to be in this movie either.
No, he didn't.
And then they arrest Blade, and I guess in that scene where Blade sits down, that isn't Wesley Snipes because he wouldn't do it. It's actually somebody else, a stunt double, and they CGI his face on there.
What the fuck?
Wait, what? What?
Yeah, he wouldn't sit down. He would not do that part. He's like, nope, I won't do it. So they had to CGI his face on there, I think, when I was hearing.
You thought the whole samurai thing where he's doing, and then this scene goes on forever and ever and just does not end.
Forever.
The part where he sits, that's also stupid, but the part where he sits down, like where he actually sits down and like crouches and then puts the sword there, I don't think that's actually Wesley Snipes.
Well, let's
get out of here.
They kill Whistler in Blade, and it's a very emotional moment, and it's just like, my father figure is gone. Then they spend a movie bringing him back, and in Blade 2, it's like, oh, maybe he has turned to the vampires as he was with them so long, until like, he's with him, and then he's talking about like, oh, I'm no good for you anymore. I've secretly been training people somehow. And then you just like get rid of him, and then he's only back in. We'll got to it later about how Dracula keeps changing into people who are already dead, thus giving himself away, defeating the purpose of shapeshifting.
Right. You should change. You should turn yourself into people who are alive. So if someone that's the idea of subterfuge. You see, they'll be more confusing than you are now. You might as well just walked up in your regular form.
Whistler, why are you alive and dressed in like red leather pants and like a romance novelist white shirt?
Why do you look like you're about to go to a club at 1 o'clock in the morning? This actor looks like somebody who'd be really into like, as this might be a really deep pull, but like into like the NYC underground party compilations, like the when techno was a really big thing, like dance music. This guy was absolutely at the club drinking cranberry vodkas at 2 a.m, just fist pumping to electronic music. Yes, the Sandstorm. Exactly. Yes, thank you. I was trying to think of a a techno song of the era.
But yeah, it's just like, and they get him arrested. Like, it's just a weird thing, and the guy plot doesn't really play much more in this movie other than the ending, barely. Like, it's a weird. Like, you have this whole thing. I mean, this, he gets captured, and the whole point of him getting arrested is just so you can have the people rescue him when the vampires show up. I mean, that was the whole point of it. It felt like we're gonna have him come in this room. We're gonna have him get drugged by the psychiatric or the God, what the hell? Is the psychiatric the word I want? One of those words. Okay. And the guy's, a familiar and blah, blah, blah. Like, you obviously can tell, like, this is the guy that was on TV too, talking about Blade being a sociopath. And then this is when you have then Hannibal jumps into the room. And I couldn't get over how dumb this part is. Like, when the girl who turned him into a vampire first, she doesn't just say Hannibal, she says Hannibal King. Like, you don't have someone just walk in the room and you say they're like John Smith and be like, oh hey John or John, not like it was just dumb to me. Like why did they like it just felt like a name drop just to drop the name, like we're all gonna know who Hannibal King is.
And the Jessica Biel strong female protagonist scene predated this.
Thank you. I was going to go back to that because I'll let you just run with it.
Well, yeah, because you have the introduction to who is later revealed to be Abigail Whistler, Whistler's daughter, which they would have made more sense perhaps for her to be like, oh, I actually survived being killed or something, instead of, oh yeah, I just like banged some other girl and had another kid.
That was retcon, like retcon. I felt.
Yeah.
Really? Oh yeah.
So there's a bunch of Sum 41 vampires, like the most 2004 ass skate kid vampires,
Yes.
and they see like a girl with a baby and they're gonna go kill her, but then she has to have the Mila Jovovich, like I believe. I don't know if anyone watches the Red Letter Media where Mike calls it like the strong female protagonist, where she's like running and then the car flips over her and she just slides under it and just is awesome. Where she has like her spikes in her shoes.
Yeah, she's got the
blade,
the Wild Wild West shoe blade, and she also apparently has an Assassin's Creed hidden blade on her wrist.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was cool. But funny enough, this explains into the whole weird thing, which goes into the weird Dracula thing where he's like, why do you guys want me to turn you into vampires? You guys kind of suck. Where it's like you have weird teenagers who are vampires running around. And it's like the whole proof of like, yeah, there's just people who are vampires turning other people into vampires because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
It does kind of fit into that, and kind of fits into what old Dracula, I guess we can just call him Dracula. What Dracula has been saying is that, you guys are a shell of your former selves. And I think that's fair, like the degradation over hundreds of centuries. But we can't leave that subway scene.
Oh, yeah. So...
Yeah, go, please. I'll let you, because if I do it, it's just...
So I love this scene, because she's fighting these guys. Well, she's walking down when it's obviously a trap, and she knows it's a trap, and they pretend like they don't know that she knows it's a trap. And they... very villainous style take the baby away, and I love the takeaway where she's on the ground and like they rip the thing off the baby and they're like, it's a fake baby and it says fuck you, and it sprays garlic spray, not holy water, it sprays garlic spray into their face, and she does all kinds of backflips. Is the weird CGI weapon revealed in this too?
I think so.
Yes,
the UV laser.
I like that weapon, other than the fact that every time it expands, you can see how fake it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And I wish they would use it more. But yeah, she whoops all these guys' asses, and I think it goes back to Blade being in jail.
Yes, at that point, yes, we go to Blade being in jail, and that's when I almost called them the Blood Pack. But the group of evil, the main group of evil vampire team, I wrote down, my son really likes costumes. He's in his phase where he has a ninja costume, is a pirate costume, a space person costume, astronaut rather. And I swear Triple H's costume was bought at Costco. Like they plucked that off of because it was made in December. I guess it released in December, but made probably way before that. Discount rack costume for Triple H. Because if you see a person dressed as a police officer, clearly go on in, sir. You're fine. Like everyone just lets them in. I guess maybe they're all familiars. And I hate the way familiars actually are cast in this, because it gets worse in this film where they're just stand-ins to let vampires do what they want to do. So if they need a device to move the plot forward, they'll just put a familiar in. Oh, he's a familiar. That's why they were able to just walk into the police station without identification or anything in half slow motion and let them do their thing. So yeah.
Well, funny enough, they do mention that, because when the evil people group walk in, Blade even looks at them and goes, "How'd you get in here?" And she whispers something in his ear, like, "Oh, we've moved people around." So
yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So there's maybe two familiars, but everyone in the police station is somewhere else dealing with something else, and that's how they explain.
They all show up pretty soon, though.
Yeah.
And again, it's just the whole thing is, why do you even need Dracula? Because it needs to be the vampires need to be deathly losing. It's we're down to so many numbers, and Blade is going to end our race, because it seems like they're doing pretty good. It's like we have every level of government in our pocket, and we have you dead to rights on film. Like, you don't need Dracula.
No, they need Dracula. I explains in the movie as to what's going on with that, which proves I should really have not been paying attention to this movie. So the thing that it happens later, which apparently another movie called Daywalkers rips off, they need Dracula because they're ready to take over the world, is what it is. They've already established that there's that scene where they walk in and there's people in like the blood packs, like the human blood sucking machines. And there's one in every state already. And what it is they're ready to go, but they still have the weakness of most vampires have, which I'm assuming is just sunlight. So they need Dracula so they can become like him, like an original vampire, and then they can take over the world and not worry about anything anymore.
But
that
then
makes
you
sense.
still need I think it was Daybreakers. That's one with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, and it's got
Sam Neill, and it's like the whole conceit is like ends in another interesting movie where it's like just okay, but it's like the vampires have won and humans are just like
human Capri Sun.
And that's the thing, everyone wants to be a vampire, but like you still need people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have
true.
Morbius blood that you can rely on or whatever. Like I don't understand. Like it's
also through vampire lore, I don't think you can get pregnant. I think that's the reason why humans have to exist too. But whatever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know much about vampire lore, but what I do know is the escape here is very silly. It always seems through this entire series, this entire franchise, Blade is more of a nuisance than anything else. He's just like an annoying guy.
Especially in this movie.
Yeah, he just seems like oh God, Blade again, because he's not going, like you said, to every single city. And evidently they have sleeper cells. The Night Stalkers have sleeper cells evidently everywhere. But they don't have Blade, and they even say we're losing, like we're not killing them fast enough. Oh, of course you're not. You're just Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel running around with like laser swords built by Patton Oswalt. Like, come on now. And
Ryan Reynolds seems incompetent throughout this entire movie.
Yeah,
like, I don't
really
know.
does.
Like,
Yeah.
I know he's there for comedy, but like, give him it just seems like he gets a crap kicked out of him all the time, and like, I know he's cut, but like, you're not gonna beat the game in a fist fight, man. Like Triple H is gonna like give you the pedigrees. They seem very ill-equipped. So when Blade and we can talk a little bit about. I like the fact that there's an arrow that goes around a corner. Great, that's awesome.
I like that too.
I like when superheroes and super people shoot arrows. I like Hawkeye. I came to like Hawkeye after loathing him the first time through, and after the MCU series, I'm like, oh, you know what? Kind of dig Hawkeye. That's pretty cool. He's the only one that doesn't have a superpower. He's just good at a thing, and that's awesome. He's a regular dude. I dig arrows and stuff. That's fun for me. But the whole escape again, and also not to just linger on this any more than we have to, the constantly strobing light. There are so many.
My eyes.
I did too. There's several times in this movie where the light choices, like the flashing, they really, really bother me because, again, this thing is lit by a power cable from a telephone pole somewhere. Knocking out one light won't make everything go, and it goes down so dark as your eyes can't adjust fast enough, and it's really, really, it bothered me. I had a really hard time with the that lighting choice.
It's annoying. Everything with the whole police station is just weird, where they're escaping and they're beating the shit out of cops. It's like they're killing cops. It felt like, unless they're using bullets that aren't that powerful. And then like Wesley Snipes just leaves. He's gone for most of the scene because he's out getting his sword, as you find out later. But like,
no,
weird.
No, he's not out getting his sword. He's in his trailer sulking while he lets the other actors do all the work. Evidently, that's what was happening.
And then the whole thing where their whole plan is they rush out the front door. And there's all these cops just waiting for him because obviously you just, started murdering people inside a giant police station. Of course, there's gonna be people waiting outside for you. And then just this Blade jumps out the window with his sword, like, I get my sword, which again is just like you said, just oh, this is why he wasn't in the scene. Yeah, he wasn't smoking weed. No, he was.
I like that bit. Forgot myself.
And then the random car just drives past and picks them up somehow, and they just drive off and then just get away.
Please don't open fire on the crappy GMC truck. It's just like, oh no, none of our vehicles can outrun this 1999 vehicle. Like
that made no sense to me.
It was so stupid. Oh my gosh! And yeah, they just drive away. Oh, and then none of the cops chase because there's not just 4 cop cars sitting there. They can't just jump in, pull back, and like you said, give chase.
Yeah, they don't even chase. Like they just drive off in the shitty car and end up where they need to go.
Our heroes with a daring escape get into a 4-wheel drive vehicle and just cruise down the road. Bye. Terrible.
It is bad. It's really stupid. There's so many stupid scenes in this movie. We haven't even gotten there yet. I do like, as I said at the top of the show, I like Abigail a lot. I like Jessica Biel. I like her character. I like the stuff that I'm sure you guys didn't like, where she puts in and does the whole, puts the little headphones in and puts the music on, and you have multiple scenes of her making a playlist. Like, I actually like that dumb shit for some reason in this movie.
Why? You have to explain why.
I think because I just like the actress.
Okay, so I was at work the other day, and I was just doing something. I can't remember what I was doing, some computer work, and someone came up to my cubicle, and I got startled. Because I didn't see someone behind me. And this is me doing support clerk work. Now you are in the field hunting by vampires. And you're going to blast Darude Sandstorm while and then most of her stuff is this tank top. So it's just okay, my neck is exposed and I'm listening to techno music. It's she's an easy target.
She really is. I mean, it's such blatant product placement. And again, you know me, Mike, I like to, in these movies, comb for product placement. I just find it entertaining. This is so blatant and dopey that I can't even begin. And later on, there's an even more egregious one when they have that final suit up scene where she really sells that iPad and iTunes, by the way, because let me tell you, I used iTunes. It never transferred that fast. Let's be honest. That never happened. And but yeah, we also meet their new crew. We can just blow through it. Patton Oswalt's there. The driver, we see him twice in this film. Last time we see him playing basketball with Patton, because that's something Patton would do. Playing a little hoops with his friend. I guess why not? I guess they could. But again, I was very happy to see Patton in this as the cue for this crew. And it shows off some of the cool tech, which all look very plastic and fake.
Yeah, and of course he's wearing a Fantastic Four shirt, and Ryan Reynolds has to make a awesome "You're a Virgin" joke. Speaking of going back to that She-Hulk reference, I thought that's where you're going to come into this, where I was just like, oh god, Wesley Snipes just looking at him, and I was like, I feel you, man.
Yeah, every Wesley Snipes slow turn to look at him in wonder and disgust is mirroring the audience, because he can't say 3 lines without inserting a joke. And I think that was why I didn't like him in this movie. Not because it was Ryan Reynolds, but because it was way too much Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, way he had too much free reign to just make shit up in this movie.
He shouldn't. And they don't even have any respect for Blade. It's just he is this legendary samurai hunter, and he's just and Hannibal King constantly gets captured, shot, beaten, and he's just oh well, you got a sword, har har. And I was like, oh god, just stop talking, just wait for Deadpool.
Well, I also think one thing that we'll talk about as we get farther in this, they were planning to spin off into another movie with Ryan Reynolds' character and Abigail. That was their whole plan.
Yeah, apparently there was supposed to be a post-credit scene or a stinger of them fighting werewolves or something.
Yes.
So I mean, that was and when you think about that and you watch this movie, it makes more sense why, because Wesley Snipes was done. Wesley Snipes getting ready for prison around this time, I think.
No, this was before his taxes. I think he was still in his mid-40s. That's. I'm curious to see what they're going to do for the new Blade with. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'm just not going to do it well. Mahershala Ali. But that guy's pushing 50, and they haven't even started filming yet.
Yeah, it's a weird.
I think it's coming out next year, but I don't even know if they start. Marvel. I don't know, the production's like next year, but like, how much martial arts does that like surprise me, man? But like, Wesley Snipes was in his mid-40s when they stopped making Blade movies, and he's pushing 50, and they haven't even started yet.
I feel like we're not going to get a lot of Blade movies. I think we're going to get like 1 or 2 with him, and that's it.
Wesley Snipes was put in prison in 2006. He was released in 2013.
Okay, so this is not that. This is 2004, so this isn't that far away from that.
Yeah.
So I mean, the whole team is weird. You have the blind lady. Who is that? The woman from Orange is the New Black, Nikki?
She's from American Pie. She was also in Russian Doll. It's Natasha.
Okay, yeah, it's Nikki then from Orange is the New Black. Because I recognize the voice, even though because you don't see her face. She has sunglasses on all the time. The whole team is just stupid. Yes. The whole Night Stalkers, I didn't care. I didn't really care for them other than Abigail. And then you have them. They tell Blade about Dracula and Dracula's origin because that's what this movie's about. And you have this. We have to talk about this scene. I've been waiting for this. You have Dracula walking on the street. And as he's walking, he decides to go into a Dracula store.
Your average, everyday neighborhood Dracula store.
Yeah, hot topic.
Because what neighborhood isn't complete without a Dracula store that specializes in nothing but the vampire stuff? Because you know how everybody loves Dracula stuff. So clearly, this scene stinks. This scene is useless.
In 2004,
I get that the intent. They're trying to establish that like Dracula is just like this cartoon character, and he's disgusted by that. But it's just like there's no such thing as a Dracula store.
A Dracula store that sells Dracula dildos
next to the Count Chocula.
It's just a valueless scene. It has no value. It's like it's like a popsicle. Like there's no nutritional value. There's no purpose, no point. At least that popsicle is refreshing, I guess. But like this is just a valueless scene, and it's so frustrating because this is clearly filler. And it doesn't do. And a lot of scenes in this movie do nothing to either move plot or develop character. Which are the two things you want.
That he's evil, I guess.
We know this. He's villainous.
He's Dracula.
He's Dracula, right? We've been told this.
He's already chowed down on like a bunch of people.
Yeah, 5 people, one of which it's actually pretty scary because when Parker Posey walks in, he's still feeding, like the woman's hand's like twitching, which is actually very effective little bit of horror. This one, and actually it's pretty, I guess, this is the first time, like if this was the first time Dracula was revealed as Dracula, like we didn't know, we just thought he was just a club goer on his way back from like a rave, then this might have been effective. Like, you know, all these hints, Dracula. Now you as the audience knows, oh, maybe this guy's Dracula. I assume he is. And then he pulls that girl down on the tattoo table or chair and just tucks in. It's pretty effective, like a scare or terror. But we all, like you said, we already know this. There's no new information or plot. I guess in movies, you have to do that. You have to move the plot along. But I guess when you only have 75 minutes, because Blade was in his trailer hotboxing, then I guess this is what you have to do. It's terrible. Just a terrible scene.
Also, I have a big complaint with this scene that is not okay. So the girl asks him a question and he ignores her, and then the guy behind the counter like, "Oh, she asked you a question." Anybody who works in retail, you can't do that. I worked in retail for years. You can't say shit. Nobody. I don't care what kind of store this is. Nobody's gonna be like, "Hey, you didn't talk to me." They'd be like, we would be like, who cares? I mean, Pete, you're used to it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when I worked at a store where I go, "Hi, welcome," and people would just ignore me like I didn't exist. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And they come up and be like, "Oh, can you help me?" I'm like, "Well, I did ask you that question when you walked in the door about 20 seconds ago, but yeah, of course I can."
This is not the amount of respect I expect to receive in a Dracula store, sir.
Oh, it's just, I mean, you are right, Bill. Like that scene where he forces her on the chair and kills her, like that is a little brutal.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But you're right. It's like I'm gonna call your corporate office, okay? Monster Stores Incorporated, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of your rude behavior, sir. Yeah, come on. But you're right. No, it's a little terrifying, but it's
as a guy who worked in too much retail, I was like, come on now, I don't believe that.
This is where you do your seduction scene where he, tries to like tell her or something, because like the other guy is like, oh, do you want to keep living with this idiot your life, or do you want to actually experience Dracula or something? But then he's just like, No, I'm just gonna eat you.
It's a dumb
I'm just hungry.
scene,
I'm hungry.
but it's funny to me. I know as a kid, when I was in 2004, I really thought it was hilarious, and I would have been like 2 years from graduating high school. I mean, now I'm kind of like, okay, it's still funny to me. It's just stupid as hell. It's just one of those things.
Can I
It's just
complain
there
about
for some reason.
one small thing about this movie, which is really annoying to me for some reason?
Just one?
So yeah. One small thing I noticed, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So we have the really weird guns that Patton Oswalt made. Those are totally PlayStation 1 like Time Sweeper guns.
Very wow. They look extremely plasticky. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not a sheen, no metallic sheen on them.
Yeah, which is weird because Blade has real guns.
Maybe that was in his contract. He's like, only I get real guns.
Only I get real guns.
Everyone else
But,
is plastic.
They get gun con.
They get gun cons. So after the Dracula scene where he, throws a guy through a window but eats the other, this is where they run around and like start questioning people, right?
In broad daylight, when
In
you're
broad
watching
daylight.
by the
Yeah, you have a
FBI.
whole thing of that, of them just beating people up, and then this is when they go into the office building to go kill or go meet the doctor, and they just burst into his building like nothing.
And they go through metal detectors, and it's like, oh my god, it's a guy who was on the news, the most wanted person in the city for all these murders, who was on the news the other night. And it's not like, they're trying to like, here's a funny scene. Oh, Blade, you can't wear your body armor and coat. You have to wear like, street clothes and a baseball cap or something. Because people are looking for Blade. Or whatever.
Baseball cap makes you laugh every time.
It's the ultimate movie disguise. But something, it's just like, no, I'm going to go in my full-on superhero costume in broad daylight. And be like, isn't that guy who killed that guy in the news the other night? It was clearly in view in the helicopter.
We're in the same clothes.
We're in the same clothes.
The same sword on his back. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, that part where they walk in the office building and, like you said, they're all geared up. I'm like, come on now. Like, how did nobody call the police on them like immediately? Like,
and how and they punch a random doctor. There's a doctor coming out of his room. They pop. They just slug him.
Like, they're punching everybody. Like, they're just beating the shit out of everybody. And like the amount of time it takes for the SWAT team even shows up, because this whole scene plays out before the SWAT team shows up.
I do like the scene where he throws the guy off the roof. I think that's the only amount of effort that Wesley Snipes put into this movie. Where he's like, if I keep doing this, your head just going to pop off. I'm like, oh, that line gets me every time. That's like the only thing that maybe I love about this movie.
Maybe they filmed that day one.
And then he just lets him drop after anyways.
He just kills him. They kill a lot of, we didn't talk about in the interrogation room. He has a line where he's like, I killed 1,189 people.
Oh yeah, that part's pretty funny.
Familiars.
Maybe that's something you shouldn't be admitting, in an interrogation room. But hey, okay.
I think my favorite part is the part where he, which apparently is also improvised, because I'm looking through the gross IMDb page. There's that scene where after they get done, like throwing that guy off the roof, he's like, "Would you try blinking sometime?" And you could tell that's an actual like Wesley Snipes look, where he looks at him like, "Motherfucker, really?" And Ryan Reynolds goes, "I'm sorry, I had a lot of sugar today." But
is that in Blade 2?
Now that's in the scene.
Do you blink?
Or do you blush?
Oh, blush. Okay, I couldn't remember what the word was in 2. Okay.
Yeah, blink is this one.
Okay.
But I 100% believe like the blink scene, especially because of the joke from like the alternate ending. So
I watched the theatrical cut of this. I didn't watch any alternate endings or anything. I wanted to see the film as it was presented to audiences back in 2004 or whenever it was. So
I watched the extended version, but I don't remember what the original version is like, so I don't know what the difference is.
That's fine.
Yeah, the original ending will shock and not surprise you. But anyway, so they get to the doctor's office, and they beat up guards and stuff to go up there, and it's revealed that the doctor's dead, and it is Sir Dracula upstairs.
But he didn't even move the body. He just put the body behind the counter of the desk where he's standing.
It's fine.
I'm just assuming he just got there and didn't have time. See, that's a thing where I guess the shape-shifting worked, because like he gets there and he's like, dressed like he's going to the club. And I think when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's just showing that he's like not hiding his vampire sympathizer look, because he's just like dressed like this now. But then it is Blade's first introduction to Dracula.
It's This is the whole scene where they like you have him running after Dracula through a building, but it's like a very uninteresting chase. You have, I think, Abigail and Ryan Reynolds trying to escape and fighting cops, I think.
And Ryan Reynolds gets shot for like the first time.
Oh yeah, no, that's what happened. He gets shot, and then they're out of it because he took a stake to the chest. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, so he's out of it, and Abigail's trying to save him and shoves some protein thing into him to cover the wound.
Yeah, it's like.
But oh, God, everything with him chasing Drake and the whole like where Drake is on the roof with the baby. That whole scene, it's just stupid. You can just tell like nobody cared.
I thought it was a pretty good scene.
It's exhausting. It's again, everything in this film is a quick cut. Everything in this movie is moving fast, and I just found it exhausting. I couldn't focus on anything because they're going through a lot of tight corridors, but there's no. And I understand they're trying to make it fast, right? They're trying to, through the quick cuts, they're trying to give the film some energy, right, as this chase is happening. But
doesn't work.
There's no real stakes to it. Blade is not going to win. We're 45 minutes in. Good Lord, 45 minutes. We better hurry this up. We're 45 minutes in, and it just felt like very stakeless. It was fine. It's fine. I mean, it's a chase scene. It is what it is. They're jumping between buildings. There's people playing guitars, and they go, "Oh, what happened here?" And then, of course, he steals a baby. Like, oh, as I escape Blade, let me prove a point. And he grabs baby so he can prove a point in 10 minutes, or in a minute actually. But yeah, he gets on the roof, and there's the baby, and then so Dracula, of course, gives his usual vampire spiel, which of course is, look at them, they're scurrying like insects, like they're our food, and the usual song and dance for a vampire, which again we've all heard 100 times. And then it's very. I do like the fact that Beefcake is at least very serious. He's not a goofball, because as we've seen earlier in the movie, the modern vampires are just prissy babies. Like they're just
idiots,
snotty, just shitty people. Like they're just awful. Like, and I almost side with Dracula. Like, you know what? Maybe these people do need to be reset, because they've evolved into just quivering little, just I dig a blade.
And again, going to the whole point where it's like, do you honestly? Because in the first Blade, it was like you had a very stuffy like vampire council, like Udo Kier and his bunch, and then Deacon Frost was kind of like the people, the up and coming.
Yeah,
who were trying to like overthrow him. Like, I don't think that Parker Posey and Triple H and Colin Keith Renee could orchestrate all of this stuff.
No, they don't come off as like, until you have like, one of the vampire senior people. Like, it's weird that, they're winning, yet we don't see any of the higher up. We just see a bunch of like reject vampires.
Yeah, these are like the blood pack from Blade 2, where just like, these are just the idiots. These are the foot soldiers. Yeah. But like Shredder is somewhere else, but there is no Shredder.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's then again, he throws the baby. It's 10 feet in the air, to which I'm like, that baby, you can't look, I'm no doctor, all right? I'm no pediatrician. But I don't think you can throw a baby 10 feet into the air, even if you catch said baby, which really bugged me. I was like, that's a baby. Come on. Like, there's too much risk to children being harmed in this film.
I just love when Blade triumphantly jumps on the pedestal.
Yes.
Or it's like it's such an awkward thing where he just like jump like this, like a Power Rangers jump up to
yes.
Like this.
That's exactly what that was.
He backflip.
I don't think he backflips on it. He just kind of like appears on it. Whoop, kind of just does one of those. And I have a question. Maybe this is in the lore, and this may be kind of gross, but if a baby were to get bit by a Dracula, by a vampire, would they ever age?
No,
right?
It's like American Pie's kid later on, where he's like, "Do you want to be a child forever? Because I can make that happen."
Yeah, that's true. He does set that up. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing like in Interview with a Vampire, different world, but that same idea where like, if you get turned when you're young, you stay young forever.
So those some 41 teenagers are going to be some 41 teenagers for like the rest of the life.
Terrible.
Death is a sweet release for those guys.
Ew. Yeah.
Remember, scream if it hurts.
Yeah.
Chica.
So that means whoever whoever turned that baby would have to deal with like diapers and pooping and feeding a child for like the next 100,000
feeding
years?
blood bottles to the child, yes.
Okay, that's too far for me, my friends. That's
why I don't think. That's why you never see baby. I mean, I want to say you'll never see baby vampires in most fiction because
I would imagine not, because that would just be silly. Anyway, so this is all dumb again. Throws a baby, and I do like though. I really do like coochie coo.
Yeah.
I had a comment. That's pretty funny. That's actually pretty good. I like that.
I feel like that was all just him. He's like, I gotta do something here. Coochie coo.
He was high. Whenever Blade does something out of character, I always find it entertaining. Like even the dopey grin he'll do sometimes. That's fun. That's good. Show a little life there, Blade. Have fun with this dopey movie.
And then you have a serious scene after this that doesn't really ever play together anywhere. You have Abigail showering off the blood with like Whistler talking in the background. And like this scene this scene really felt like we just want to have Jessica Biel half naked and show you her in a shower.
She also smears more blood on her.
And I don't know if, and it is gratuitous, but I also have to think, given what she was trying to accomplish at the time, if she was like, yeah, let me do it because I want people to like.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a problem. It just, my only issue with the scene is that it doesn't play anywhere. Like it doesn't. Worse things are about to happen to her, and like it doesn't really like reflect on it, or like it's just there. It just felt like it was there for only one reason, but that makes sense if she was just like, I don't want to be associated with Seventh Heaven anymore.
Yeah, this should have been after.
Yeah, after you have when they come back and you have Zoe killed and Hannibal missing and everybody's dead. That would have made more sense than like she's grieving because all her friends are killed. Like. You just have her, showering out blood. This is before all the shit happens. This is also when you have the little girl ask Blade, why can't people be nice?
People are assholes.
Like, it's like you could have cut that. Like, you didn't need that. I mean, and this is also when you have them meeting the police chief at the blood harvester place. This is why Abigail and Blade are gone, and then everybody else is at the hideout still, and you have people we talked about a little earlier, you have people in sacks being like drained of blood.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
They're getting like that. They're getting like matrixed,
They really are.
Yeah, and I don't like the scene. I think I know why they have it here. They're really trying to like cement that, like you were saying earlier, and I didn't get this in the text of the movie, but that makes sense, that they are gearing up to take over the world. Like this is them preparing for a time when there may be no humans, and we have to like herd them like cattle and breed them and all that sort of thing. And
this reeks of when the script he was trying to make, this reeks of that script that we didn't get.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what bothers me in this, is because like this would have worked if you had the apocalyptic type thing. This doesn't work when they also have to resurrect Dracula because Blade is killing them all, but they're winning. None of it works.
And I like the little bit of homeless person commentary. Like there's 3 million homeless people wandering the streets of any given city, and and no one cares about them. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, this is not the solution. And I didn't like this at all, because at the time for me, I felt like it didn't move plot, didn't expand on characters, doesn't do anything for this film. But now, kind of knowing what a little more of the backstory, I now see the point of it a little more. But again, in the text of the film, I just felt this. It's neat, I thought, from like a gory kind of gross point of view, like people in blood sacks. Yeah, it was neat. But
yes. It's always been one of the most interesting parts of the Blade franchise, is just the rules of its universe.
Yes, I agree with that.
Where it's like the society and the familiars and how everything operates and how it's like just on the fringes. And this is kind of that, but it's in a movie where everything is just in the streets in broad daylight in the public and no one cares.
Yeah, this scene just doesn't work for me, because it would have worked if you had they're fighting like head vampires, not a bunch of idiots. Like it didn't work for me.
Yeah, you're fighting the equivalent of Bulk and Skull from Power Rangers.
Yeah, like in the second movie, you have one of the original vampires, who they're fighting. In the first movie, like we said before, you have this council of vampires, and here you just have some goth people and a wrestler who are vampires. Like it just doesn't work for me in that aspect.
Is Blade Trinity the Dark Knight Rises?
Well, Blade 2 is no Dark Knight, so.
I dig the Dark Knight Rises a lot, actually.
It's okay. I do too, but a lot of people hate it. I just use that as an example.
I think it's a great Bruce Wayne movie.
I only seen it once in theaters.
I've only seen it once. I saw it. I'll tell the story again. I saw it. I think it was opening weekend in an IMAX theater, but we got there late, and the only seats available like on the corner of the bottom row. So I spent the entire time craning my neck up and watching this movie, and it wasn't the greatest experience. So I've never seen it since. So I own it. Of course I own it, but I've not seen it. I'm due a rewatch. I really am.
Okay, at some point I'm gonna watch it. And this is, and when it goes back to the team's hideout, this is when fake Whistler shows up, and then Hannibal's like, "You're not alive."
It's obviously Whistler in Dracula's clothes. It's just like not setting off not one alarm. He could have like killed Patton Oswalt, and like it could have been him. Be like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna check on you, buddy," and then he turns into Dracula. Because I guess like his morphing abilities doesn't do clothes; it's just his body.
It doesn't really work as a shapeshifter because people are gonna wonder why somebody's wearing clothes that they should not be wearing.
Yeah, it's like if Patton Oswalt walked in like hot Topic leather pants, you'd be like, something's wrong here.
That would have worked better. That would have been a better scene.
There's also a really weird thing too, like a little bit later on, they show they have like a defense system because there's a guy that walks up from like another like team of Night Stalkers, and you see the machine guns like point at him. So it's like there's a security system set up. I guess he's just that good.
I mean, he is Dracula, or Drake. Sorry, Drake, as they call him in this movie all the time.
They call him Drake. I forgot about that.
And if they're only covering the front door with that, they should probably get a better system that covers all the windows. That might be a little better option because he could have just gone through a window. I mean, I know. I'm just trying to. Why am I making excuses for this stupid thing?
I do not know.
And let's move. I should have gone full on supernatural because like the Blade kind of vampires. It seems very grounded. Like there's nothing about like. There's no religion to it. It's all just like a virus.
Yeah.
Like even, I don't know if it's in the regular version, but like Drake has a conversation with Parker Posey about like, why do you wear the cross? And she's like, I guess it's just a relic from an older life. And he talks about how like he was there when Jesus was crucified. Actually, I don't know if that was sooner because I can't remember if that's when he bites into her. Or
that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's in this movie somewhere. And then this is where he kills everybody, but he takes Hannibal and the little girl.
Which is weird. Another thing, like, why are you giving, Parker Posey her pet back? Was she like, look, like he doesn't care about these people. He's probably going to murder them after he's done murdering these people.
Because
why would he
Ryan
care?
Reynolds is the star of this movie. He's got a new movie going to be coming out where you're going to spin off. So we can't kill him.
You can't have 3 stars in a movie, y'all. Can't.
Well, they don't. They have Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel. That's all.
That's true.
That's true. Guest starring
Wesley Snipes is just here. He doesn't want to be here. So. And then this is where Abigail finds Zoe's dead body, where I think he was supposed to like turn Zoe and then tied her up, and then this is where the shower scene should have been after, because she's holding Zoe, she's crying, and you have like a really dumb scene with Blade just standing there and saying something about use it or do it.
Use it.
That was a line I wrote down. Use it. Use it.
Understand, like, is he saying kill her, or and then he makes another?
He's essentially just saying like she's like crying, and he doesn't know how to like comfort her, so he's not doing it in his way, where he's just trying to get her to internalize it so she can turn it inward to anger to go fight.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that's what that dumb comment is that he makes a little bit later, where he's like, did you use it on the outside or on the inside? Something stupid like that.
And she's like, it's already in there. Hey, stupid, it's called grief. Like, no, he's literally telling her to do the wrong thing when you're grieving. It's like, just hold it in. Just hold it in until the time you need it, because it's a little energy meter that's inside your body, and you build up the hate meter, and then you can go Super Saiyan and do all sorts of awesome things, like destroy a $300,000 camera. So
we haven't even discussed, like, because I guess it's going to come up soon, that the humans are developing like a biological weapon, because they just kind of casually mention it now. Like now it's like why they need Dracula alive, because I think like she already has like a post-recorded or posthumous message being like, oh yeah, because like the guy from like the other cell comes with like the USB stick of like the Apple QuickTime movie.
I find it interesting how everyone has Apple products in this movie. Huh? Weird.
Yeah, look at that. Everyone's
she's so sad, but then she feels perfectly good to like jump onto her iTunes playlist and Make
This-
a playlist.
So where's the song? I can't live. Living is without you. I didn't see that on her playlist.
Well, I don't know if you fine gentlemen went through this. I was enthralled with the playlist because again, I'm enthralled with the fact of the product placement. I actually paused it and checked out like the songs she has on her playlist and the artists. She really digs the music in this movie. Like she really is into kind of mid 2000s electro. She has Fluke on there, and some of these songs are actually really good. I actually do have a fondness for some of these artists. Jurassic 5, who's a great hip hop band, hip hop artists. They're actually fantastic. They have an artist by the name of ATFC. The song is In and Out of My Life. I listened to that last night while doing dishes. Whole band. If you like mid 2000s deep house, that's a banger. That's a banger. She's actually got pretty good taste in music. Underworld, which of course everyone of that era remembers Underworld. 2 Months Off, Born Slippy, good band. Something called Dave Ralph. I couldn't find them. That might be fake because on Spotify it turned into a metal band. I'm like, yeah, that's not. No, Silencer was one of the other bands on there. They turned into a metal band. I'm like, it doesn't track with this stuff. Dave Ralph was and then of course she has. I didn't look up Red Snapper because I was getting tired. And then Uncle. UNKLE. They're great. They're awesome. Uncle's a great band. So she has really good taste, I think, in again, mid 2000s electronic house music. So there you go. I actually went through. I paused and advanced it frame by frame to make sure I got as many as possible before I got off that playlist.
Okay.
So,
I did not.
well, I did it for y'all, and clearly that bit didn't work.
Well, I'm not.
So I'm glad my efforts were for naught.
I'm not a music guy. Like as I've said many times on the show, like I have I don't know music like I once did, and I don't know hip hop at all because I hated hip hop for no good reason for a very long time before I realized I'm being an idiot, and I still don't. It's not my kind of music, but I respect it a lot more than I did when I was younger.
I looked at it in passing, like I recognized some of the names, like Jurassic 5 and things like that. Because I remember when this movie came out in theaters, I was in university, so during finals, so I had to wait until I was done. And I was really looking forward to it. And I remember a friend of mine saw it, and he said it was really bad. And I was like, oh, really? Like, what's the problem? Like, why is it bad? And I think the response was, oh, it's nothing but kung fu and techno. And I was like, but that's the other two Blade movies.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And this movie isn't that, I don't think. This movie has
no
more
action, and what it is terrible.
Has more hip hop songs that, like, I think isn't there one that goes, oh yeah, no, not what the hell was there one that kept repeating the same line over and over again while the guy's walking the street?
I know what you're talking about. I think it's one of the Dracula scenes.
Yeah, but I can't remember the song now, like what he says. But it's just like he just keeps repeating the same line.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember. My other question too is, did she bring her laptop with her? Because I thought all the computers were like destroyed into giant fireballs.
Well, she's like me. She takes her laptop, puts it in the backpack, brings it with you in the car in case you have some downtime while you're, working or hunting vampires. You can, download some music. Yeah.
Well, look, and where? Sorry, that's not to overanalyze this stupid thing, but how did she bring her laptop with her? In her skin tight tactical outfit, did she slide a 2004 era iMac?
It's in the back of the car.
Just in the back of the car. Okay, cool. Okay.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I do love her costume in this, though. Like, I don't know what it was about me and Jessica Biel in this movie. I've never seen it. I just really, really like her in this movie.
The only thing that bugged me about her costuming is the fact she has to unzip her arm sleeves in order to fire her bow, which had happened in the first fracas that you...
But it's so cool!
It's pretty cool.
I don't know. Like, it a little bit annoyed me a little bit. Yeah, not enough to ruin my enjoyment of the moment, I guess.
There's other stuff that I enjoyed.
Yeah, there's other things that overshadow her arm sleeves, but again, I wrote it down. It was notable.
We talk about product placement in this movie. I'm pretty sure whatever like coat and jacket and like zip up vest she was wearing, because I think later on in the movie, whenever Blade takes off his jacket, he's wearing like a turtleneck. I think they're both like name brand sportswear or something.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see any insignias or anything, so.
There was some weird insignias on Blade's turtleneck. That's why, because I know usually most sportswear does stuff like that. So that's made me think of that.
Well, if you want to jump around like Blade, buy Under Armour, and you can do that evidently.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Hannibal in his cell. You have the vampire dogs, which I like. I remember making jokes about the vampire dogs for years. I do remember that because I made a lot of jokes about it's a vampire Pomeranian.
There's a
my
joke
issue with it is that the vampire dogs have the same type of fangs like they do in
the
Reapers.
Yes.
And the Reapers are killing vampires, so you don't have access to this. Like, you shouldn't have access to that stuff because all that was destroyed in Blade 2. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
The idea probably is, which of course it always is, because if you notice too, whenever at the end of the movie when Dracula becomes his big dumb like devil form, he also has that split jaw thing, to which I'm pretty sure all it was, hey, you know that thing from the last movie? Yeah, that was pretty cool. We should use that. But there's storyline. No. It just looked cool. We'll just use it. It's fine. Just CGI it, put it on the dog. It's fine.
It was just weird. And like, this is when you have the really dumb line of something about, the dog has a bigger dick than you. And Triple H going, when'd you see my dick? Like, oh my God. Like, just stupid ass. And apparently that was added because they wanted to give Triple H, they liked him, so they wanted to give him more lines. And that was one of the lines.
Don't give him that one. That does not work. Don't do that.
And then you have not much else happens, and you have I put Abigail doing arrow testing for some reason, just because we got to show her shooting arrows into a dummy to show how fast she shoots, I guess.
Because we haven't established yet that she's a good archer.
And it's being measured in frames per second.
No, I think it's like force pounds or something.
Yeah, it's
like
force.
Okay.
Pounds of pressure, yeah.
Or PSI, I think is the right term.
No, it's like force pounds. I think I genuinely think that's what it's called.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a measure of how hard a thing hits another thing. And you're right, but we haven't established yet, because if you didn't know that by the fact that an arrow goes around a corner and takes out somebody, and all the amazing archering she's been doing throughout this film, now we need to know. And I wonder if they were trying to like really show her using the anger, like filling up, like using her meter, but using it badly. Like if you're in a video game, like if you do it too early, like I'll cry. I'm in Shredder's Revenge and I use my super thing, and there's like 2 enemies on screen. Dang it! I thought I was going to anticipate it. That's what it felt like to me.
It's one of the longest pointless suiting up montages ever.
Takes forever. I can't even see half the stuff.
Well, you don't, and if you notice, they don't show Wesley Snipes in this. You only see the bottom half of him grabbing weapons. You don't see his face. That's weird, huh?
Well, here's the other weird thing. So she's like doing her whole bow thing. Is that how a fucking bow works? You don't shoot a bow harder.
You can shoot arrows harder.
Like, but you have to adjust the bow. You don't just,
I don't know enough about archery, so I can't.
I don't either. I just thought it was weird.
I thought you just pull back hard. I mean, I have shot a bow in my life, but it wasn't like how composite bow, and it was sure as hell wasn't a nice bow. It was here's gym class, go shoot a bow and arrow. All right, that's about my experience. I do want to shoot a bow though. I really like bow and arrow for some reason.
Yeah,
fucking Hawkeye.
Yeah, seriously.
That's where it all comes from. Me, I love Hawkeye. All because of that damn Avengers game on Genesis and Super Nintendo. That damn game. But that's another story. And then you find out they have the one arrow to kill Dracula with, because it has a Daystar, but they only had enough to make one arrow.
Only had enough for one.
So I have questions about this.
Go ahead.
So they're going to shoot Dracula, and it says, like, we only have enough for one dose. So they kill all the vampires in that building. But what about the rest of the vampires? Because they die immediately. It's not like this is like, what's happening in the real world where everyone just passes it along. Like, if they're all dead in that building, they're not going to another building and then giving it to more vampires. Or is it just become airborne at that point?
No, I took it as they didn't have enough they only had enough to stop the immediate problem. But we're right back where we were with blood sacks and lots of vampires in 100 different cities. Like, that hasn't changed. So there really is no big victory here.
No.
Other than we were able to kill Big Dracula. However, now you no longer have the access to his blood to synthesize more of this stuff, which means all of this movie was basically for naught. Mm-hmm. It was for Ryan Reynolds to make jokes and get punched in the face a number of times, for Blade to get upstaged by his crew of good bros and gals, and for us to see club-going Dracula actually lose, but at least turn into a giant D&D monster. So that really is that's why this film has no point.
Again, you can really feel parts of that plot from once I heard of the script that got rejected, where he still tried to work in things with that script, but without doing it.
And I read again in the trivia that, like, apparently there was an ending where, like, I guess the the disease went viral and Blade turned human, and he takes a sword and throws it in the ocean or something.
Oh, that would
And
be
that's
cool.
something I wish wasn't a throwaway joke either, because like Ryan Reynolds mentions, like, what are you gonna do? Say it works. Like, what do you do afterwards? This has been your entire life. And then he just makes a joke about like, oh, you're gonna go teach Y or like karate at the YMCA, like her.
Oh God, Ryan, please.
Like in your training, did you not get like a psychological profile of Blade being like, do not make jokes? He's not gonna respect you. Like
He's not gonna find. He does not find you charming. So
No,
yeah.
he finds you an asshole.
In the werewolf extra ending, it says, which is even weirder, that I understand they didn't keep it in because they didn't want to end up going through with it, I guess. But it said that there's a guy that's talking to Ryan Reynolds, and he's like, "What are you doing here? Vampires don't exist anymore." So technically, their plan in some weird way does work.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess it's like the T virus in the Resident Evil movies where it just does whatever the plot needs it to.
yeah.
Like somehow a virus made in a lab messes up the ecosystem. It's like, okay, whatever.
But also, like, the biggest issue with this that I forgot about is that they talk about Hannibal was a vampire and they turned him back to human, yet they have a cure, but they don't use the cure. They just kill everybody instead.
No.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
again,
that cure-
like I just listened to the Blade 2 episode that you guys did, where if you're going to cure vampires, they're just going to be like, hey, do you want to turn me into a vampire again?
Oh, good
And
point.
they're
We
just
did
going
say
to
that,
turn
didn't
into a vampire again. Unless the cure prevents you from becoming a vampire again because you have vampire antigens? Question mark? But that's not something they've established in this universe.
No, I think I am right, I guess, because there's that scene with Ryan Reynolds and what's her face where she's like, "I'm gonna turn you back into a vampire and I'm gonna starve you out for a couple days and then I'm gonna make you eat a child." So
Yeah, Parker or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, so
Danica.
Danica, thank you. So I guess it doesn't work. So I guess it's a weird thing where if the virus is released, it's a weird thing where it's like, hey, look, I found a syringe full of vampire juice, and you inject it, you just die immediately instead of turning into a vampire.
It's a weird. All right, and then this just brings us to the end where they ride their cycles to the vampire headquarters, and then you have Hannibal back in his cell. They're about to I don't know what the hell they're beating him. They're beating him up again. And then this is when he talks about their silvers being pumped into the vent. That all it does is give them like bad breath, essentially, makes them cough.
gives them a bad case of allergies for a moment.
I mean, it wasn't like this is like I thought. Okay, this is gonna kill people. They just start coughing, and then they cough up like fire. It was the dumbest thing.
I don't know what the point of that was. I really don't understand the point of the silver, because again, this is just setting up a joke, like from Ryan Reynolds to be like, here he comes, guys, and everyone, of course, like she's like, oh, okay, it's all gone. They only had a little bit of the silver in the vents, and how'd you get into the vents? Like, who cares? And then, of course, they bust in and start breaking off. We have Triple H versus Ryan Reynolds. We have Blade, of course, versus Dracula, and then Jessica Biel versus, I think, everybody.
Yeah, and
she's doing all the mop-up duty. So,
no, it's like Ryan Reynolds versus Triple H after he's recovering from being shot with like in the chest, after he's been beaten to like within an inch of his life by like this wrestler, and it's like, oh yeah, no, you can go toe to toe with him afterwards. We've established that this guy is an excellent fighter? Question mark.
We've established that he's really good at taking punches and standing back up. Fighting has not been really established at this point. He's just good at getting injured and not completely dying. He's
like
good
Homer
at not
as
dying.
a boxer, where he has like the Homer Simpson syndrome, where he has like a thick layer of fluid around his brain.
What the fuck?
Also, the way that they kill Triple H, I think it's just kind of funny. He shoves the bullet in his mouth and then punches him in the face.
Because they established he's got his rad grill, yo. And I guess they use that grill to spark the UV thing. Fine. Why didn't you just shoot those bullets when you had him? Oh, whatever. God, just let this.
And then you have King getting chased by the vampire dogs, and then they fall off the building, and that's like right before this fight when you go, "Where's my dog?" You try the lobby.
That wouldn't kill them, though, would it?
No.
Then okay.
They would just be out there killing people.
Yeah, they're just down there, slowly recovering from being smooshed.
killing people.
Smooshed is a great word. I like smooshed.
I mean, yeah, because I was like, I thought Jessica Biel would be killing Danica or something, but you have, Danica doesn't die until the end when Hannibal is getting choked by her, and then she gets the virus and then dies that way. Like, I thought that was like, they didn't give Jessica Biel, she's just running around with the arrow shooting people. No, she's not even using arrows, she's just beating the shit out of people off and on in like one-on-one fights.
You know, with her neck completely exposed in a tank top, with music playing around vampires who can sneak up on her and bite her and kill her or turn her into a vampire. Mm-hmm. But I mean, she didn't really have any history with Danica, so it wouldn't really make much sense for her to be fighting her other than they're the women in the movie on either opposing side.
Oh, this is also when she does the Matrix thing too at one point, where she does like, come here, I know Kung Fu. I liked it as a kid. I still liked it as a 34-year-old. So
I can't even. And I like the fact too that she with their iPad, with their earbuds still in, like no one pulled them out, like all this flipping and jumping, and then went boink, and then all of her power goes away because she's no longer listening to Uncle. Yeah, that's Underworld.
I get my headbuds caught in a door all the time, and she's fighting vampires.
I mean, earbuds fall out easily.
Yeah, I can't keep it in my dumb head, and she's able to wield a bow and arrow and fight off dozens and dozens of vampires who just happen to be hanging out in this building, by the way. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason. Evidently, there's a rave upstairs. That may be where Dracula goes to party, because they all come down in all like rave clothes and mid-2000s garb and attempt to get murdered. They just get murdered by
But
her.
I don't understand why she doesn't use her bow at all.
I thought they were doing office work.
Well, it was very late, unless they're burning.
They're vampires. I mean, they only work at night, so
that's true. Yeah. Good point. Maybe they are doing. They must have a very loose dress code in vampire land.
Have you seen their bosses? I mean, yeah, they probably have a loose dress code.
Fair. The whiny little bosses breaking their boardroom table. Yeah, I wanted him. Shut up.
Oh God.
What? I think I have to go rewatch Blade 1. I feel like Wesley Snipes has at least one silly move per movie, because there's a part where he like patty cakes a guy's face in like for the beginning of the fight scene, and it looks really silly.
There's a lot of whoop 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 whoop, like a lot of Three Stooges steez in that one. Yeah,
I think you talked about one of our Blade episodes, but I was watching how many people just run up to him and he just waits for him. Like, even worse in this movie than the other movies. Like, you can tell he doesn't, like, Wesley Snipes does not do that many, like, there's not that many scenes of him doing stuff. Like, you can really tell he did nothing to do with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say that his sword fight with Dracula is actually really good. I thought it was really fun and exciting. I
that
really
some guy did a good job.
Well, I mean, whoever, it doesn't matter. Somebody deserves credit for that, because it was a really good. That was one of the highlights of the movie for me. But
that also Dracula's fit's pretty cool too. I like the weird like vest and like the one arm of armor. As impractical and stupid as it is, I think it's pretty cool looking.
I enjoyed the fight too. I like how he uses a gauntlet to like block stuff, kind of what the whole point of that left arm is, and then like the fact they fight sword to sword, and at one point Dracula turns into a monster for some reason.
At one point in the fight, he just tears off his armor so he can just be shirtless.
Yeah, he's a big monster man now.
And so I did get a kick out of how when she shoots the arrow at him, and then Dracula just turns around at the right instant and just catches it. Like, I did like that.
Then he gets shot by a second arrow.
Yeah.
Doesn't she miss and Blade grabs it and jabs it in?
No, he grabs it, breaks the arrow, but leaves the arrowhead intact. The one thing that could stop him, and then Blade grabs the arrowhead and shoves it into his stomach.
Yes,
and that's what ends up killing him. And then you have and that's why. And then the virus gets out and kills everybody in the place, and it's supposed to kill everyone in the city. And yeah,
I guess it does. I don't know.
And then. We're getting to the ending of the movie now, and Dracula has some little dialogue about something about Blade. I mean, which I don't know if that's in the regular movie or is that only in.
It's in the version I watched. As he mentions the Blade, like they don't need me to evolve because you're the future. Of our race, and eventually the thirst always wins.
So the theatrical ending of this is the FBI shows up. I mean, they show up no matter what. The FBI shows up. They take Blade. The only body there is Blade. They take Blade's body, and then when it's in the morgue, it turns into Dracula's body.
Because why? But why wouldn't it just turn into like monster Dracula? Because isn't that the true form of Dracula?
Yes,
Like
because that
true
would
form
cost
of
more money.
Dracula is not my beefcake boy.
It would cost more money to film that scene.
Makes
so they
no
couldn't do that.
sense.
So I think
mean-
like the line, because I watched the extended version, which has a different ending, is that like Dracula's gift to him was an escape route because like Summerfield's like the girl who gets killed made the virus says that like they don't know if it's gonna like kill Blade or not because he's a hybrid. But I guess he survives in the theatrical version, and Dracula is like, oh, I guess Blade's dead. Or he wants the world to think Blade's dead so he can go back living in the shadows, but then he turns into Dracula? Is that what happens?
No, so I think is there talking about the weird one where Blade gets up from the table?
See, that's the ending I got because it implies that he was dead. And then Ryan Reynolds has him voice over being like Blade was in a coma or something, like it stopped his heart to near nothing, and then he awoke when the world needed him. But then it just shows him during modern time.
No, I
So
think
it's not like an Army of Darkness thing where he like wakes up in the future or something.
Yeah. I think the way it's supposed to be is that the gift that Dracula gave him in the original, which is where Blade gets off from the table and his eyes are CGI'd. If anyone wants to look that up, because it's a very silly scene and costs a bunch of money. I think the idea is supposed to be that the gift Dracula left him was him being the last vampire, I guess. But in the redo ending where it's Dracula on the table, the gift is letting him get away.
Yeah.
Probably. It's not explained very well.
No, it's not. It's just a weird. I mean, like, again, you can tell that they wanted to do so much more with this, like, other characters, and just nothing happened.
Huh. They cut a sex scene from the movie.
Yeah.
There's a sex scene in the movie?
They cut it.
Between whom and whom?
Who do you think? There's only one woman in the movie.
Of course, derp. Well, I guess it wouldn't be. Well, it's two. It was Parker Posey. I'm assuming that was Jessica Biel, but her and Ryan Reynolds.
No, Blade and Jessica Biel.
No,
That's just
no,
stupid.
there's not. No,
Yeah,
come on now, stop it.
I guess Wesley Snipes fought against it because it didn't make sense, and so like they didn't end up filming it at all. They didn't film it at all, but there was a part in the script where it was supposed to happen.
Oh my God.
It's like I really want to watch a 40-year-old man have sex with someone in like her 20s.
Yeah.
Who is the daughter of your father figure?
You're basically having sex with your stepsister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that's what
horrifying.
they've done for 9 seasons on The Flash. So
Well, we luckily
high
cooler
five,
heads
Blair.
prevail. Yeah, really. That deserves a lot better than I gave it. But luckily, cooler heads prevailed on that one because, good God, that would have been horrendous.
Yeah, that would have been bad. I'm glad that did not get filmed. God, Goyer should not be allowed to direct.
I don't think he is anymore. He's still writing stuff. Like
He can write.
he did 2 movies after this. I think it was like, because I looked it up after because I wanted to see. Because I know he did like a lot of stuff. Like he did some movie with a Justin Chatwin called The Invisible, and then I think there was one more, and that was it.
Hang on, I have his extensive credits. Oh, he did The Unborn in 2009, which seems like it's kind of schlocky horror flick.
Okay. I mean, it's better than got to be better than directing this. I feel like, again, he wasn't planning to direct this. He had no vision for it. He was just, we got no one else. It's like you drop off your kid for soccer practice and you're like, well, we don't got a coach. So guess what? You get the job. You're like, what? So that's kind of how this felt.
He wrote, wait, no, am I wrong? He wrote The Dark Knight and Batman Begins?
Yep. He wrote all 3 of them, I think.
That's weird.
He can write. It's just, he just shouldn't. I mean, again, this movie just shouldn't have, like, it's too much of them trying to set up stuff to do after Wesley Snipes leaves, and that's what this whole movie was about. Because at that time, you make a trilogy, then you move on to something else, and they were trying to spin off. I mean, and you can just tell this movie was nothing but trying to make spin-offs, and it didn't work very well.
And it was a pretty quick turnaround too. It's like Blade 2 was early 2002, and this was late 2004. So you're only looking at like
2 years,
a year and some change.
Oh yeah,
to like write it and film it and edit it and everything.
They just wanted to get the money out the door. I think it wasn't. Yeah,
the way it always works.
And then there also was there's another thing where I guess at one point Wesley Snipes actually choked David Goyer or wanted to choke him or something. So because he was mad about something. So yeah. And even like I know in the video I was watching, they were saying that the whole cast hated the director. Like everybody hated Goyer in this movie. Everybody hated the script. Nobody wanted to do this movie. It's like, yeah, it's not a good sign. Right. Any last thing to say about the film? We go to shelf stacker box.
No.
Oh, Okay, I'm going to go first since I have the controversial opinion of this one. I'm going to put this on the shelf because I enjoyed this film. It's a dumb movie, but it was fun for me. Like, I was entertained by it. I wasn't distracted messing with my phone the whole time like I have been with other movies that I've done for the show that you haven't heard yet. But, like, I was just entertained. Like, I just really had a good time watching this movie. Oh, it's a bad movie. It's a stupid movie, but it was fun for me, and I still really like it. It's the worst of the three, easily, but I enjoy all three of these movies a lot. So it's going on the shelf, which I can't believe that's what I'm doing after watching this movie and this conversation, but yep, going on the shelf. What about you, Bill? Joe, what about you?
So I'm going to meet you halfway. Even though this movie's pretty bad, I'm not going to box it. I think I'm going to go ahead and stack it.
Okay.
And this is where it's like, hey, me and my husband are drinking. Hey, let's watch Blade 1. Couple drinks in. Hey, you going to just watch Blade 2? Yeah, let's watch Blade 2. Oh, we're already 2/3 done. We're very, very drunk. Just want to watch Blade 3? Yeah, might as well. Okay. So it is pretty fun if you don't turn your brain off like I did the second one. So I'd probably watch the first two, and if I had to, I'd watch the third one just to finish it off.
I like the third one. Again, I think a lot of it's just Jessica Biel in this role. I just really like her in this role.
Yeah.
And what about you, Bill?
Jessica Biel cannot save this from the giant blood vat I'm going to be tossing this movie into. As I said in the open, I'm going to just restate the thesis. A, you can't outcool Blade. And you guys are right. He is a secondary character in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Can't outcool him. And secondly, the worst sin a movie can commit is being a net zero, of just existing in the world with no purpose or reason. And this movie, even again, given all of everything that happens with the ending, the regular ending, nothing happens in this movie. We're back to zero. We're back to the point where Dracula's not a thing and the vampires are still winning. And we have this airborne virus that's not going to go, I don't think goes viral because it's not in the text of the movie. If it just
goes viral in the city. That's all.
Great. There's 85 more cities out there that have blood packs and barns full of people in Ziploc baggies, like in a freezer. Or vacuum bags. It's just a net zero movie that has no reason to exist. It doesn't further the franchise or the character. I'm really looking forward to the new one that's coming out. And yeah, this is definitely in the show box. Sorry, I forgot what the terminology was. I've only been on this show 80,000 times. It's going in the box and it's going to stay there for a very good long time.
Okay. And what about you, Blair?
This is going in a box with a UV grenade. I don't know. I remember when I saw this in theaters. Again, I came out someone saying it was really bad, and I was like, I don't believe you, because I like the other ones. And I saw it, and I was like, yeah, it was fine, because I enjoyed Ryan Reynolds, and I still do. But this is just bad Ryan Reynolds. Like, he's not funny. He's obnoxious. He doesn't have a character other than annoying. I don't think Jessica Biel has a character. She's just strong female protagonist, and I never find that interesting. It just shows her doing things, and it's the thing where you read a review and someone says she's a badass who takes no prisoners, but that isn't a character to me, and I don't think this has any redeeming qualities. And Blade 1 and 2 are made by really great filmmakers, and they have a real cool vision and world, and this just torpedoes all that. It even looks boring. There's nothing interesting on screen, and the best thing I can say is that this was a great time talking about it, but I don't think I need to see this again for a really, really long time.
Okay. All right, that's about what I expected. I knew I was going to be the only one that liked it. So.
I liked it.
Oh yeah, you stacked it though. You didn't shelve it. That's the one that shelved. But yeah, no, and we're not gonna. I'm gonna. Who the fuck knows me? But I don't plan to cover it. There is a 13 episode series that came out after this with Sticky Fingers plays Blade, and that went 13 episodes before getting canceled in 2006.
I remember watching some of that and thinking it was not terrible.
Okay, that's It's a continuation of this series. Essentially, it takes place after this movie and keeps going. But I don't know if we'll ever cover it because I just don't think I want to, or find people that are going to be willing to watch that crap with me. So we'll see. But
where do you even find that content in the year 2022? Because it was on Spike.
It's not. I can guarantee you, it's not streaming anywhere. But if I pull up my handy dandy Amazon, if I can figure out the website, Amazon.ca, not for me, and let's see, Blade TV show. I'm pretty sure I have the movie House of Chiton, which is just episode 1 and 2 put together. But yeah, you can buy the complete series for $23 on Amazon.
I can think of a lot better things to do with $23.
Yes. I mean, I do not plan to actually do it. I have thought about doing the other movie, the fake TV movie, which is just 2 episodes put together. But I doubt that will happen either because I have better things to do.
I think our Blade circle is complete until the new one comes out.
That I will cover for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to cover it, but
I'm not. I have no plan. I just think it's funny because it came in the pack of Blade movies when I bought this for one of them.
That is
back
pretty
in
good.
Probably one. I bought this back in 2020.
Also, you should also probably, while you're listening to this, and I'm pretty sure it's probably too late because the episode will probably come out next month.
It comes out next week.
Okay. Watch Blade while you can because they're taking it off HBO Max at the end of the month.
Oh, so when you hear this, you literally have like 3 days. So
yeah.
That's okay. I'm really glad we did it when we did it because then we were all able to watch it on it was there. We wanted to.
I mean, it'll be back on there in like a couple months. They always take movies off and put them back on like a month or two.
Why are they taking it? They created. That's another thing I thought was funny. Warner Brothers was involved in this movie being created, and they own DC. But I found that funny.
Well, I mean, the rights were everywhere for these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even have HBO Max in Canada anyway, so.
Oh.
Well, if anybody needs to borrow a DVD copy,
yeah, I mean, I have one too.
Movies, I'm happy to lend it to you. Just you got to pay for postage. That's the only thing I ask.
All right, and if you want to hear the better Blade movies that we talk about on this show, we did Blade 2, film 31, and Blade was film 10. God, that was a long time ago for Blade 1. It's funny how these two are kind of close together, but it took me forever to get from Blade 1 to Blade 2. I just wanted to finish the series. I just wanted to be done. I'm like, there's 3 movies. I just want to wrap it up. All right. And Bill, where can people find you at?
You can find me at a little podcast entitled A Gamer Looks at 40. It's a retrospective of games as told through people's stories. It's basically a bunch of people I know and are friends with and I've met through various communities, including Mr. Mike Albertin, just telling stories about why these different systems and games are in fact affected their lives and impacted them. I don't know when this comes out. When does this come out? Next week? All right. If you listen next week, I'm in my...
or 2 weeks. I don't remember, but it comes out this month.
Doesn't matter. I am in my back-to-school break. There will be some content coming out every week, but it's either older or side stuff. No new episodes until October 3rd, which when I start my monster 2-month-long Zelda retrospective of the entire franchise. Good God. The first episode took me forever.
I'll be on that again, hopefully.
You shall. So I think. So anyway, check out the show. There's lots of cool back episodes to check out. And A Gamer Looks at 40, wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
All right. And Blair, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Blaircade. You can read my work at comicbookvideogames.com. If you hit the Review Games Index tab on the front page, you can scroll down and find my reviews of Blade 1 on PlayStation 1 and Game Boy Color, as well as Blade 2 on the original Xbox, and Ghost Rider on PlayStation 2, where Blade is an unlockable character that they actually give context to.
That's cool. Now you have my attention to actually maybe want to try that game someday. We'll see.
It's a decent God of War clone.
Okay. Speaking of God of War clones, I really want to play that Nightmare Before Christmas God of War clone for some reason.
Devil May Cry.
Oh, Devil May Cry, yeah. I want to play that. Really bad for some reason. We'll see if it happens, but it's on my list of ideas. Well, we shall see. All right, and if you enjoyed this episode, there are over 350 other episodes for you to go check out, to go listen to our giant catalog. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we have a Patreon. Little dollar, go vote in our Patreon. You can help affect the show. You can help vote for movies. Right now, at the end of your hearing this, we are starting our spook poll, which is still up. It's either The Lodge, The Thing, Stephen King's It Chapter 1, or just It Chapter 1, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Oh, yeah, The Omen. So, yeah, those are the 4 you can vote for. And we'll cover one of them at the end of the month. So, stay tuned for that. And I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Fury. And we have a Discord now for the show. So, please take a look at our Discord. You'll see a link in the show notes for that. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube. So, definitely go check us out there. And I think that's everything I need to say. So, we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.